much, Mr. President, Secretary General, Excellencies. My name is Peter Newman. I'm a professor of security studies at King's College London, and I'm also director of the International Center for the Study of Radicalization. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about the causes of youth radicalization, and I commend the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan for hosting this debate today. I've dedicated the past 17 years of my life to studying and understanding the process and the causes of radicalization. It's what I've been doing day in, day out. It's what's kept me awake many nights. I was born and I come from Germany, and I've always struggled, for example, to understand how people from my own country, with the history we have and the atrocities and wars that we've caused, how young people from my country, a very small number, but still, how some of my own compatriots could still be attracted to neo-Nazi ideology. When I was a student, I spent a year studying in Belfast, Northern Ireland. It was the last year of the conflict, 97, 98. The conflict was winding down, peace was coming, yet the scars of conflict were everywhere, and I was looking for the cause. When 9/11 happened in the city, it seemed far away to me, but 4 years later, in 2005, terrorists struck in London, where I was by then living and working as an academic. The terrorists that attacked London were not from the Middle East, they were not from a zone of conflict, they were from England. They'd been born in England, they grew up and went to school there, they had British passports, and they spoke English with a better accent than I do, even when I try. What made them do it? Let me tell you straight away, and I'm now speaking as an academic, there isn't a single reason why young people radicalize. There isn't a single root cause. Radicalization is a process. It is the process whereby people, often mostly young people, turn to extremism, sometimes violent extremism. It's a process that can occur in any society, and as such, it doesn't have a specific cause. It's conflicts that have causes. If you make a list of every grievance expressed in every conflict in which youth radicalization has taken place, you end up with a very long list indeed. You'll end up with a list that includes, in essence, every problem in the world. And at that point, it becomes difficult, because I know, and you and the Security Council know better than everyone else, it is neither possible nor realistic to expect politicians, policymakers, diplomats, even the United Nations, to solve every problem in the world. So let me say one more time, youth radicalization as such doesn't have one specific cause everywhere, but conflicts do. And so instead of talking about the causes of radicalization in general, what I'd like to talk about is one specific conflict, one specific population within that conflict. The people I want to talk about are foreign terrorist fighters from my continent, the continent of Europe. Foreign fighters who've gone to Syria and Iraq to join the organization that calls itself Daesh. They're mostly young people from cities like Berlin, Paris, Stockholm, and London, citizens of our countries, up to 4,000 of them who've joined a totalitarian organization that chops off people's heads and burns them alive. My colleagues and I at my center in London, ICSR, we've been interested in these people for over 2 years. We know many of them. We found 700 of them on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, social media platforms where they are posting news and updates, comments and pictures. We've spoken to nearly 100 of them, some over the course of several months. And we've met face to face with many facilitators, transporters, sheikhs, and of course the fighters themselves on the ground in the border towns from where they enter into Syria. So we know these people, we know their stories, and we know there isn't just one story. There are many stories. Some of them are pious, but others not. Many have troubled histories, but some would have had decent prospects had they stayed in their European home countries. Some were driven by the humanitarian suffering of the Syrian people. Others were seeking thrill and adventure. And of course, many were extremists to begin with. They'd been extremists long before the conflict in Syria started. So when it comes to their basic characteristics, their, if you want, socioeconomic profiles, we're dealing with an incredibly diverse group of people, more diverse than any extremist population that I have seen. So diverse, It now, for the first time in this particular group, includes large numbers of women, 10, 15, in some countries, 20% females. So what do they have in common? There's an uncomfortable truth here for my European compatriots. However different the foreign fighters that my colleagues and I have found and spoken to, however different their profiles and characteristics, what many, if not most of them, have in common is that they didn't feel they had a stake in their societies. They often felt that because of who they are, how they look, where their parents or grandparents came from, they still weren't part of us. They weren't European. They didn't belong. They'd never succeed in Europe, however hard they tried. And if you do not feel you belong, if you don't feel you're part of your society, it becomes easier to leave. It becomes easier to hate. It becomes easier to go against the very society whose passport you carry, whose language you speak. Let me make this very clear. Being excluded on its own doesn't explain why you become a foreign terrorist fighter. It certainly doesn't justify it. Nothing justifies terrorism. Just because you've been discriminated against, just because you lack economic opportunity, just because people insult your religion doesn't automatically, by osmosis, make you go to Syria and chop people's heads off. If it was that simple, we wouldn't have 4,000 Europeans down there, but 4 million. And thank God we don't. There are a lot of other factors involved in youth radicalization. An ideology needs to come in, make sense of the grievance, and channel it into a particular direction. Groups and social dynamics, charismatic leaders play an important role too. But what I'm trying to say is that exclusion, not feeling you belong, the sense of not feeling you're part of your society, it opens your mind. It opens your mind to an ideology that says the West is at war with you. Europe is at war with you. Your country is at war with you. You cannot live amongst these people. You can't be European and Muslim at the same time. Because that's exactly what the recruiters are saying. That's what the Daesh videos on the internet are saying, and it resonates with some. It resonates not because Daesh has magical powers of persuasion or because the videos are produced so well. It resonates because it makes sense of people's state of mind. It gives them the answer they were looking for. It turns a grievance into a cause, one that gives meaning and significance. It's weirdly empowering, as hard as that may be for a lot of us here today to understand. So a sense of inclusion, that's not what causes it, but it's the precondition for everything that follows. How do we stop it? There's lots of things we need to do. There's a lot of firefighting. Stop people from traveling, arrest them, share information. Some of these measures are outlined in UN Security Council Resolution 2178 that I had the honor to work on with Ambassador Power and her team. We need to empower young people to make their own choices as full members of their societies, but we also need to empower parents, especially mothers. They are our strongest allies. They are often the last ones who still have a degree of influence over their kids, and we've often seen how parents have managed to stop their kids from going abroad. We need to create de-radicalization programs that deliver tailored interventions, either when people are on the brink of joining extremist groups before they are traveling to Syria or when they come back. We need to challenge extremist ideas on the internet where extremists are incredibly effective and we are not. But firefighting isn't enough. If we want to stop this from happening again and again, we need to work on creating more inclusive societies and more inclusive identities. It is the toughest part of prevention. It is the most costly and the most long-term, but we must do it. Because only if more people feel they belong, they truly belong to their European societies, however they look, whatever religion they practice, only then will we succeed in reducing the pool of people from which violent extremists recruit. Thank you.
أشكر الأستاذ نيومان على إحاطته. أعطي الكلمة الآن إلى دكتور سكوت آتشان.
Your Royal Highness, Prince Al Hussein bin Abdullah Thani,